Hi, my name is Travis Hawson,
And this is Nathan Kurtz.
and we work for the support department at New Boundary Technologies, and we're going to give you a technical overview of the installation and usage of Prism Deploy. Nate?
So let's get the installation started here. I'm going to choose English for the install. And I'm going to accept the end user license agreement, which you're going to want to read before accepting. On this screen here, you would want to enter either your eval or purchased serial number, depending on what stage of having purchased the product or not you are at. On this screen here, you can choose what the installation directory for Prism will be. I am going to leave it the default instance of program files x86. On this screen here, we can select and deselect the different items for the Prism Suite install that we would want to install or not install.
Nate, why might I not want to install everything?
For example, if you have purchased Prism Deploy but not Asset Manager, then you would want to deselect the Asset Manager items from the installation options here, and then head on with the install. On this screen here, we can choose where the installation for the SQL backend database for Prism Deploy will be. The default option here is to install SQL Express locally to where Prism is being installed to, and it is a copy of 2005 Express edition. If we already have a SQL server that exists in our environment that we would want to use, rather than installing a local copy of SQL Express, we can point to what the SQL server is by host name. And if the instance of SQL is not the default instance, then with just a backslash and then whatever the name of the instance would be, we can specify what the non-default instance would be. But in our case, we have chosen the default instance for SQL, so we'll just continue there. This screen here, we get to choose what kind of authentication we want to use to install the product and for the product to utilize for SQL.
Nate, why might we want to change the authentication model for SQL?
One example would be that in many environments that are a little bit more locked down, they don't allow Windows authentication to their SQL servers. And so we can change it from using Windows authentication to SQL authentication and then specify what the SQL account and password would be to utilize for both of the install and for the product to utilize to access the database while it's in use. In our case, though, our SQL server does allow Windows authentication, so we will leave that there. This screen here allows you to choose which port the clients will end up communicating with the Prism server over. We recommend using the default port of 3133. On this screen, we get to choose what account the Prism server is actually running as. So we can either, the default option here is to create a local account for the Prism server to run under. If you have an existing service account that you would want to utilize, you can enter that here. And then finally, on the last screen, you can choose to either install or not install the Quick Start channel. We will choose not to install it as we already have a channel we want to utilize. And then install.
Great, thanks Nate. So this is the video that talks about the installation of Prism Deploy. Next, we will start talking about installing the client and our next steps.